In the face of current crisis, organizations have had to change the way they work. They are devising and implementing new operation models that could be a blueprint for the long term. Adapting employees and their skills to these new operating models will be crucial to the success of these initiatives. For example, managers must learn how to manage teams virtually. Similarly, team members must acquire skills to communicate effectively using emails, instant messengers, and virtual meetings. These are just few of the many instances where organizations will have to invest in reskilling or upskilling their employees. Therefore, organizations cannot afford to pause their employee learning programs. Organizations must find ways to support employees in ways that were not needed earlier. One of the ways that organizations can achieve this is by setting up a Learning Response Panel, LRP. The panel can be composed of stakeholders from different parts of the organization, including learning and development, human resource, HR, operations, and sales and marketing. The primary responsibilities of this panel must be to locate learning opportunities, reimagine experiences, produce content. We examine each of these responsibilities and explore how learning and development can gain from LRP. As organizations finalize their operation models, they must also list the skills that would be needed to implement the model. Once this is done, the organization can evaluate the currently available skill and identify which skills are needed. Some of the learning opportunities that the LRP can target immediately includes TILE, which stands for Technical, Interpersonal, Logical, and Emotional Training Opportunities. Let's examine each of these. The crisis will hasten the adoption of technology and automation as organizations move to technology. This would necessitate that employees must understand concepts like big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and analytics. Some employees may need training on best using collaborative tools like Microsoft Teams, Slack, and Zoom meetings. Due to the nature of the crisis, team members might work from separate locations. Therefore, employees would need skills to communicate properly over emails, instant messengers, and virtual meetings. They would also need to learn negotiation, persuasion, and influencing skills to find a mutually agreeable outcome when working with others while working remotely. One key method to increase team effectiveness would be to provide more autonomy to teams. It is here that employees would need skills to drive prioritization, decision-making, and project management. These, along with other logical skills like problem solving and decision making, would ensure that teams can identify and resolve problems. Majority of employees who are accustomed to work with other team members will suddenly find themselves isolated. Such employees will need coaching to build their self-awareness, confidence, and image. In addition, these employees would also need help in controlling their emotions and persevere in challenging circumstances. Learning and development teams can use this opportunity to integrate with the business side of the organization and align learning and business strategy. Social distancing norms, travel restrictions, and safety requirements have made running physical classroom sessions difficult. Perhaps now is a good time to define new ways to reach your employees. LRP can implement this by designing for VIC, where VIC represents virtual sessions, in-time information, and complementary learning. Moving physical classrooms online requires a substantial, if not complete, redesign of training material based on the limitations of the underlying tool. To maximize session effectiveness, design activities for before, during, and after the session. For example, before the session, share the meeting details and the prerequisite materials. During the session, use tools and features like polls, chats, and breakout rooms to encourage participation. Finally, after the session, provide any follow-up information, solicit feedback, and promote sharing on social media. This will ensure a highly effective learning program that will lead to desired outcomes. Design a learning program that allows employees to access very targeted information and internalize right exactly when needed. To implement just-in-time learning, work to identify the relevant topics, narrow the focus to develop bite-sized pieces, provide examples and scenarios, and make the information available through multiple channels. In-time learning is especially useful to train employees on specific processes and procedures. For example, a salesperson traveling to meet a customer can hear a podcast on ways to manage cost-related concerns of a customer. Encourage employees to create and share assets that complement the formal learning program. The assets can include videos, podcasts, blogs, forum posts, etc. This will result in the creation of a learning culture that is distributed and collaborative in nature. Employees would not stop at just learning and applying their knowledge but would share their knowledge with others. For example, managers can write blogs that identify ways to perform specific tasks using an application. At the same time, the comment section can be open for all employees to share their experiences to promote interaction. Additionally, these assets can be curated as part of a weekly playlist that can be shared with employees. This is also a great opportunity for learning and development to launch learning paths tailored to allow employees to master a product or a role. The biggest challenges of the current crisis are the scale and speed at which organizations had to adapt. This is true for learning programs as well. LRP must use this crisis and implement Agile by embracing LOP, that is launch, assess, and apply programs for learning. As part of this step, work towards building the simplest training assets that meet the requirements of the organization. At this point, the key focus is to move fast and address skill gaps with the goal to show value. During this step, measure and collate employee feedback to the training asset. Analyze the feedback and prioritize its implementation based on variables like implementation duration, complexity, interdependency, etc. Based on the prioritization, look at ways to improve the training design and development process. Review the produced assets based on the feedback and its prioritization, rework it, and release the asset. The best way to implement LOP is for learning and development to act like a small company. Small companies are more successful at implementing Agile as they know their requirements and do not need to work around multiple departments when implementing newer methods. In the context of a learning program, learning and development working as a small company will have a better understanding of the skill gaps. They would also be able to pull disparate channels together to create a more efficient learning program. Learning and development must use the crisis to change the way they go to market and remove the pressure of perfection. During the initial days of the crisis, the obstacles looked insurmountable. However, things have changed. Organizations have moved away from questions like why us and why now, and are answering questions like what next and how to. This is where the LRP can help organizations succeed. At Check and Click, our learning philosophy revolves around finding ways to help our customers create a learning culture. This will help them adapt their employees' skills to new operation models and ensure that they build new competitive advantages. Thank you so much for watching this video, we appreciate you. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.